location hybrid meeting of the Governance and Audit Committee, which is open to the press and public on request. This meeting will not be broadcast live, however, a recording will be made available as soon as possible after the meeting has concluded. Please be aware that this meeting is being transcribed only for the purpose of producing the minutes. This transcript will be deleted once the committee approves the minutes. The transcript should not be downloaded by anyone other than the Democratic Services. We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I have had no requests for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Please can members attending via Microsoft Teams refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak. May I remind members that as per your statutory guidance made under Section 4 of the Local Government Wales Measure 2011, that our formally adopted hybrid meeting policy, any member attending a meeting remotely must be able to be seen and heard by the members and the officers who are attending the meeting, as well as by members of the public viewing the meeting. So can I ask that you all please use your cameras for the duration of this meeting. Please remember to keep your microphone muted when you are not talking. Moving on to the agenda, I'm going to hand over to the legal representative for this item, please.
Members of the Governance and Audit Committee were appointed by Council at its annual meeting on the 13th of May. At the last meeting, it was agreed that appointments of the Chair and Deputy Chair would be made at this meeting. So if we could have a nomination for Chair. For members to note, the person appointed as Chair must be a lay member of the committee. Can I ask if there's a nomination for the Chair of this meeting?
Can I nominate Mrs. Pedgington, please?
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
That's all right.
Jade, we've got a nomination and a second. Would you like to take a vote?
Yes. If you could just state whether you're for, against or abstaining. So Councillor Ashley, please.
For.
Fantastic. Councillor Jones, please.
For.
Yourself, Chair. Mr. Rees, please.
In favour, diolch.
And Councillor Williams, please.
For.
So if we move on then to the nomination for the Deputy Chair, for members to note the person appointed as Deputy Chair cannot be a member of the Cabinet. So is there a nomination for Deputy Chair of the meeting?
Can I nominate Mr. Gallagher, please?
Seconded.
And a second?
I've just said second. Councillor Ashley.
Thank you, Councillor Ashley. Jade, could you?
Yep. So Councillor Ashley, please.
For.
Councillor Jones, please.
For.
Yourself, Chair. Mr. Rees, please.
In favour, diolch.
And Councillor Williams, please.
For.
So that's Mrs. Peggington has been nominated as Chair of the meeting and Mr. Kelleher has been nominated as Deputy Chair. I'm also told that the Chair will be leaving this meeting at 11 o'clock to attend to a personal matter. As you can see, the duly elected Deputy Chair of the meeting isn't in attendance. So please could I have a nomination for Chair of the meeting to take over from Mrs. Peggington at 11 o'clock?
Can I nominate, if he's willing, Councillor Williams, please, to do that?
I'll second that. I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Just to do a vote, if you could state if you're for, against or abstain. So Councillor Ashley, please.
For.
Councillor Jones.
For.
Yourself, Chair.
For. Thank you.
Mr. Rees.
I'm very much in favour, diolch.
And Councillor Williams.
For.
Thank you.
So that means Councillor Williams will take over as Chair of the meeting at 11 o'clock or when there's a convenient break around the agenda at that time. So over to you.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much for your confidence and support in re-electing me in this position. I do appreciate it. Right, moving on to agenda item 2, welcomes and apologies. Jay, do we have any apologies, please?
Thanks, Chair. We've had apologies from Mr. Kelleher today and Councillor Davis.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 3, the declarations of interest. Jade, please can you ask the members in alphabetical order to state whether they have any interest to declare?
Yes, Chair. So starting with Councillor Ashley, please.
I realise I should have been declaring that I am council pensioner. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Councillor Jones, please. I think you're on mute, Councillor Jones.
Sorry. Yeah, my wife's in receipt of a Torfaen pension, and I'm a member of the council's pension scheme.
Thank you. Yourself, please, Chair.
My husband's in receipt of a greater pension.
Thank you. Mr. Rees, please.
As per usual, I declare I've got a very small Torfaen council pension.
Thank you. And Councillor Williams, please.
Yes, I'm also in receipt of pension from TCBC.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jade. Moving on to agenda item 4, minutes of the Governance and Audit Committee meeting from the 26th of June 25. Members, please can you state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes? If not, we will take them as agreed.
Sorry. Yes, I do.
Councillor Ashley?
Yeah, I was on holiday leave, whichever you want to call it at that time. I did give a blanket apology. It was probably not your fault it wasn't recorded, but I did leave it to member services that I was on holiday at the time. It isn't recorded in apologies.
Okay, thank you. Can we add that? Thank you, Jade.
Yes, Chair, I'll update the minutes accordingly.
Thank you. Agenda item 5 is the action sheet. Members, please could you state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the action sheet? If not, can we note its contents? I see no hands raised. I assume nobody's got any comments. Can we take it as agreed? Thank you. Agenda item 6, update of external regulatory reports. Mr. Tom Roberts, Business, Democratic and Support Services Manager, please can you present the reports for us?
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. The report I'm presenting today is your regular update on the work both carried out by our regulators and the work that has been carried out by the Council in responding to those reports and recommendations. The update report is broken down into several sections. Firstly, under 4.1 of the report provides a 6-monthly update on the progress made delivering actions associated with external audit work under the portfolio of this committee. This action plan for governance and improvement is set out in full in Appendix 1. As is normally the case, any recommendations where officers feel the response has been fully addressed from the original recommendation we have highlighted to remove from future monitoring if the committee is in agreement. Secondly, the report also includes details of the new external audit reports recommendations received by the Council from our regulators, which will be addressed in line with the agreed reporting protocol that has been agreed by this committee. So under 4.2 to 4.5 of the report, you will see details of 3 external reviews carried out since your last update in June 2025, namely the outcome of our panel performance assessment, an Audit Wales national study on temporary housing, and a local Audit Wales study into commissioning. Members of the committee will already receive detail of the outcome of the panel performance assessment set out under 4.3 of the report. Although not strictly a regulatory report, I wanted to highlight it through the quarterly update to the committee due to it containing a number of recommendations to the Council that we will need to address and due to the statutory role this committee has in the next part of the process. The next steps of the process is for the Council to develop its response to the recommendations, a draft of which will be tabled at the next meeting of this committee for review. Under 4.4, you can see details of the national study that Audit Wales undertook to look at the Council's measures to try to improve the value for money of what they spend on temporary accommodation. The overall findings of the study were that councils are spending considerable amounts of money on temporary accommodation, which in many cases does not meet the people's needs. They do not understand whether they are getting value for money from their temporary accommodation, have made limited progress with improving prevention of homelessness, to achieve better outcomes and reduce costs, find it difficult to predict demand for temporary accommodation in the medium to long term, do not have clear plans in place to ensure their workforce is equipped to prevent demand for temporary accommodation, and find it difficult to work well with partner organisations to prevent homelessness. The report made 3 recommendations around value for money, planning for prevention and partnership working, and this report and its recommendations were referred to the Council's Adults and Community Scrutiny Committee for ongoing review. The full report and completed organisational response form are attached as appendices 2 and 3 of this report. Under 4.5 of the report details the findings of the commissioning study are set out. The study focused on whether commissioning services whether in commissioning services does the Council put in proper arrangements to secure value for money in the use of resources. Overall, Audit Wales concluded the lack of corporate commissioning arrangements limits its ability to gain assurance it is securing value for money, limiting the Council's assurance that all service areas consider key factors to help the Council consistently deliver value for money. However, it was recognised that at the time of the fieldwork, the Council's senior leadership team had recently approved a commissioning framework, but this was as yet untested. A number of recommendations were made by Audit Wales in order to strengthen the corporate approach, insurance compliance across the Council, and to maintain effective review mechanisms. These recommendations will remain with this committee for review as part of the Council's governance arrangements. The full report is available in Appendix 4, with the Council's organisational response form set out in Appendix 5. Finally, under 4.6, the report also includes details of any scrutiny work that has been undertaken reviewing the progress made by the Council in delivering external regulators' recommendations and or proposals for improvement. This is an important part of the Council's assurance processes, with scrutiny committees reporting back on the work they have done reviewing the reports and recommendations originally referred to them by this committee. A full review has been undertaken by the Council's scrutiny committees, and the outcomes of that review work is set out in Appendix 6, with details of the areas where scrutiny committees are satisfied with progress set out under 4.6 and will therefore be removed from future monitoring by those committees. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions with regard to this report? Mr. Rees, your hand is raised.
Diolch, Chair, and diolch, Tom, for your report there. I just wanted to make a few comments about 4.3 within the report, reference to the panel performance assessment. Now, this exercise obviously happens just once every council term, and thank you, Tom, for distributing the recommendations from the panel assessment back in the summer. But I think where I'm coming from with this is that I think there needs to be a little bit more clarity about how all of this comes about. Elected members and the chair and vice chair would have been part of this back when the exercise happened in May. But I, as just a ordinary co-opted committee member, wasn't part of that. So when these recommendations came out, I was unclear as to what our role as in the Governance and Audit Committee is regarding it, whether we were to comment on the recommendations, whether changes could be made to it or not. So I think what I'm looking for is that the next time that the council takes part in this, following the future elections in about 2 years' time, whenever it's timetabled into that term, that a little bit more information briefing, if you like, is given to us all, so that we know exactly what our role is in terms of reviewing and commenting on the recommendations. And I realise that this will come to the committee again in December, but I just want to be clear about what our role is in that. Thank you. Diolch.
Can you answer that one, please?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose in many ways you've kind of fallen through the cracks in that there's 3 lay members. Two of them were involved in the process at the request of the panel, and the rest of the members of this committee, as elected members, were also given the opportunity to speak to the panel as part of the interview process. So yes, I suppose in retrospect, maybe I could have provided you with a brief about what the panel performance assessment was all about. But at the same time, you haven't missed anything in so much as this committee's role in the process is now due to start, in that you will be reviewing the council's response to the draft recommendations. Sorry, no, the final recommendations. You will be reviewing the draft response. When we received the report in draft, there really wasn't much of a scope for us to review the report. It was, it was presented to us. We reviewed it for factual accuracy, but the report in many ways was the report. If there was something in the report that was, factually accurate, yes, we could have changed it, but we couldn't change the opinion of the panel. So, like I said, your role is due to kick off shortly. If you feel you need to, discuss, the panel performance assessment, what it is, what it's for with me, then by all means contact me. Next time around, we'll look to involve you sooner, but at the same time, I don't feel like you've missed anything at this point in time.
Thank you.
Diolch, Tom, and please, I don't want you thinking that I'm being overly critical about it. I just want to make sure that the next time it all happens, that everybody that is involved, knows exactly what is happening and what their role is. Anyway, thank you for that, and for being in touch with me via email about it all. I just wanted something on record about it. Diolch yn fawr.
Yeah, I suppose just to come back on that is, at the time of the fieldwork, we did a huge number of briefing sessions for everybody who was going to be interviewed, and that was, staff, members, partners, people within the community, probably people I've forgotten to mention. What we didn't do is brief people who weren't involved in that process. So, yeah, I'll take it on board and make sure you have more information next time around.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mark. Mark, can I just assure you that you didn't miss an awful lot apart from the briefings and the stress of going through an interview. I think you've got the best deal. You'll be here to review the outcomes. Thank you.
Well, as you know, Chair, I'm involved with it with another authority, so that's all fine. I just wanted to make sure that we've had a record of it, and next time round we can do it a bit better. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. I think my observation would be that this was a first-time process for all of us, so therefore, we weren't quite sure what to expect. But picking up on what my colleague has said, I think it would be beneficial next time we have this process, Tom, that we have a briefing that comes to this committee, so that we all know what the process is going to be, even if not all of us are going to be interviewed. I think that's one of the learning points that I think my colleague has highlighted.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It was quite a learning curve. Thank you. Right, does anybody else have any comments with regards to these reports? Councillor Williams.
it's just a little, I suppose it's the observation is there's a lot of stuff to go through. And I think I probably may have mentioned this before, it's probably quite helpful to have some pointers to where the substantive points are. Obviously, there are some things that there's a report that has said that it has gone to a committee and it's now been taken off, and I can understand that the information needs to be there, but as I say, I just think it's a little difficult, and if we could have some pointers towards the key points. So, for example, the peer assessment review on homelessness was something that was Wales, well, quite generic, quite wide. That on commissioning was quite focused to Torfaen, and as you explained, it came at a time when there was a new process coming in place. So I think it's probably helpful to have that little bit of supporting information that indicates that, if you like, the level of detail and whether it was something that was quite wide, Wales-wide, or whether it was something that was quite local. Because in my view, I think we've addressed homelessness quite well through scrutiny committees and in terms of our performance. So some of those generic comments don't necessarily pertain to us, and there's perhaps an opinion that we can give or that Audit can give that feeds into this committee. Does that make sense? Thank you.
It does make sense, and just that, you know, I'm not the housing expert, but you know, from conversations I've had with Simon Rose within housing regarding this report, as you pointed out, it is a national study. Therefore, not all recommendations will land equally in all local authorities. But he feels Torfaen is in a much better place than the majority of councils across Wales with regards to these recommendations. You will see from the organisational response form that Simon and colleagues have completed that a lot of the responses are, yes, we've already done this. Yes. Yeah. So, you know, give some assurance to the committee that our housing service feels in a reasonably strong place with regard to these recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ashley, your hand's raised.
Yeah, yes, I think this is a test of whether we, I had trouble logging on to the account. We'd had trouble with SRS, and I've only managed to get to look at some of this today, to be quite frank. But the bit about the homelessness, I concur with what Councillor Williams said, because I thought we were doing considerably better than that generic report said, and it's good that Audit Wales have raised those points, because you feel for places like Cardiff, Swansea and Newport, where they've got a very different problem to what we have, and it's useful to know what the overall problem is and what our problem is, because faced with it on a ward by ward basis in Torfaen is very, very different to what you've got in the big centres population. But thank you for that, and thank you, David, for pointing that out, because I think we had the same problem, and I know the presentations that we've had. Also, I feel for Mr. Rees regards to what we went through on that panel, because yes, we sat there and took it. I mean, I must admit, I found it a very useful process, because it did question what we were doing, scrutiny and various things, and I think we've made a start on that, and I think you're very much part of it. You're very good at scrutiny, Mr. Rees, so I wouldn't worry about it. And I think ongoing process, and this committee, I think, has got a very large part to play, and I'm glad to see that we will be getting on with that in December. And I think Tom's had enough of me over the years doing stuff like this. I think he's got good answers to it. That's all I'll say.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else got any comments or questions they need to ask? No, so we will move on then to the recommendations on page 28. I'm assuming if we agree these recommendations, all those that are proposed as being removed will be removed then. Yeah. So recommendations on page 28 of the agenda, please state if you're against the recommendations or wish to abstain. Otherwise, I'll take them as agreed. I see no No disagreements, no abstentions. Thank you. So we'll take them as agreed. Moving on to agenda item 7, the complaints handling review. Again, Tom Roberts, I think you're going to present this report for us, please.
Thank you again, Chair. Probably the first point to note is that each year this report would normally be presented by the Council Team Leader for Complaints and FOIs, Chris Corton, but he is unfortunately unable to be here today. However, I would like to extend my gratitude to Chris, his deputy Jacqueline Tranter, who sat alongside me, and the rest of the team for the dedication and professionalism with which they manage the complaints process across the Council. As you know, the Local Government Elections Act 2021 gives the Governance and Audit Committee a defined assurance role around complaints. The committee is asked to review and assess the authority's ability to handle complaints effectively. There is a central team which deals with corporate and social care complaints coming into the authority. We work with teams to collate feedback and information and coordinate responses. There are 2 complaint processes, one which is defined under the Social Service Complaints Procedure Wales Regulations 2014 and the Representations Procedure Wales Regulations 2014 for social care, and service-related complaints for all other central council service areas are dealt with by the Corporate Complaints Procedure. During the 24-25 financial year, the authority received a total of 206 complaints, 166 at stage 1, 20 at stage 2, and 20 received by the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales. This represents a 17% decrease on the previous financial year, though the previous year's figures were inflated due to an issue generating a significant number of complaints. Following a review in September 2022 of how we categorise complaints, we continue to see a higher number recorded than in previous years prior to our review. Therefore, the increase since this point does not point to worsening services, but to an intentional drive to record more complaints, helping to ensure transparency and accountability. The percentage fully upheld has decreased from 55% to 42%. This is a significant drop and reflects the work being done by departments to improve service provision. A theme across all areas is communication. A number of teams continue to make progress with digital transformation, helping to link reports and provide feedback to residents. The team achieved an overall complaints compliance rate of 97.3% for response within timescales. That's above the 95% target. Full details of the complaints report for each of the directorates are contained in Appendix 1 of the report. Appendix 2 sets out the Council's annual letter from the Public Service Ombudsman Wales. Before I highlight some of the key data from their report, I'd just like to highlight a concern that's been raised by the Public Service Ombudsman Wales office. We've been notified by the office of a fault in their compliance reporting, which may impact on some of the data within the report. We're not aware of the extent of the issue or if it will impact upon our own data at this time, but they will be issuing an updated report in due course. I therefore just want to put a small caveat on the information I'm about to present. I do not, however, anticipate this change in Torvine's data significantly, i.e. the data that's been presented, we do recognise it, but I will of course ensure the final report is distributed to members of the committee, and on the off chance that there are significant differences that need to be discussed, I will happily bring the report back to the next meeting of the Governance and Audit Committee. So as far as the data is concerned, we directly received 18 contacts from the Ombudsman during 24-25, though their total in the report was 20, with 2 carried over from the previous year. The figure has been used for the purposes of this report. This is an increase on the 14 from the previous year, although we have recorded more Stage 2 complaints to ensure the process were exhausted. Despite the increase, there were no investigations, no interventions, and no recommendations made by the PSOW. The PSOW annual letter shows that we have the second lowest rate of complaints per 1,000 population made to the Ombudsman at 0.21. We were also below the national average of 18%, the level of complaints made to authorities that went on to be referred to the PSOW. We feel that this reflects positively on the robustness of our own internal complaints handling processes, and further details are set out in the annual letter in Appendix 2. The team also dealt with a higher number of other contacts which were not eligible as complaints. The number was up 9% to 1,232. These may be service issues or queries. The team will work with departments to achieve a quick resolution to prevent escalation into a complaint. It is also pleasing to report the team was made aware of 202 compliments covering all service areas. It's important to recognise and congratulate when things are going well. We encourage directorates to notify us when compliments are received. The complaints team will continue to engage with directorates, providing quarterly and monthly briefings and meeting teams to discuss and assist. We produce leaflets and posters to promote the processes and make it more accessible to residents. We've approached the PSOW office to arrange free training to staff members, and we will be looking to make arrangements for the new year. A couple of other key points to highlight. During the last year, we were pleased to receive full assurance following a review from the Council's Internal Audit Service of our complaints handling process. And finally, following an increase in vexatious complainants, a new risk has been added to the Council's risk register, and we're in the process of reviewing the existing unacceptable actions policy. The team continues to receive assistance from across the organisation and it is grateful to all who provide the support and inputs to achieve positive outcomes. Staff engagement is vital to ensure that complaints are fully addressed and ongoing improvement is achieved. We welcome any feedback from the committee, and Jacqueline and myself will be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Has anybody got any questions or queries with regards to these reports, please? Councillor Williams.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for a very detailed report, and thank you, Tom, for the breakdown. I think it's a very positive report. I note that, you know, at 3-4 you indicated that there are actually more contacts than last year, but fewer complaints, which would suggest that we're doing well in terms of the early resolution at first contact. I think it's very positive as well to note I think there was an overall, was it 202 compliments, which again is a significant increase on before. So I think that's a very positive thing for the council to note. I think that's a good news story that the council should be highlighting, particularly when we're aware that there's been significant change in the waste services, which has been quite an issue. And it's good to see that the number of complaints in that department has fallen. So there were, I thought, quite a lot of positive messages within this. And I think it also says a lot when you see that the Ombudsman's letter saying that there's none that needed to go to further resolution, none that needed our intervention. So overall, I think the team are to be complimented on the excellent work they do.
Thank you. Mr. Rees, your hand is raised.
Diolch, Chair. Diolch, Tom and Jacqueline, for the report. I just wanted to ask something about 4.8, reference there to the Public Services Ombudsman. And yes, you know, it's good that although residents made contact with the Ombudsman, that nothing had to be done with regard to that. Perhaps Jacqueline might be able to answer that. Has the Ombudsman been able to give us an idea of those 20 that came through to them? Was it that no investigation or no intervention had to happen because it had been done out of the complaints process? Is it that people were advised to, you know, to come back to us and then it was dealt with through our own internal complaints system? Or is it that they were complaints that literally had nothing to do with what the Ombudsman's role is in situations like this? I'm just trying to have an idea of what the background to those complaints might have been, if you've got that info. Thanks.
Yes, generally, Councillor Rees, the issues that perhaps have not been investigated through the appropriate processes within the authority. So before the Ombudsman would look at them, they would come through our processes first. Sometimes the Ombudsman might state as well that it's not an issue that they could investigate. So it stops there and the individuals may not contact us. But certainly, if it's something that should go through our processes first, we will put it through stage 1, stage 2. If they continue to be unhappy, then they can go back to the Ombudsman.
Thank you. You happy with that, Mr. Rees? Okay.
Yes, yes, thanks. Yes, I mean, I understand the processes. I just wanted a little bit more clarity on that. And yes, as what's been said before, it's good news. Diolch.
Okay.
So, yeah, just to say, on page 160 of the report in Appendix 2, there is a breakdown. So 33% it was due to decision not to investigate complaint, 28% was a matter out of jurisdiction, and then 39% was a premature one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Apologies for not noticing that.
That's okay. Councillor Ashley, your hand was raised. Councillor Ashley, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm having trouble doing that. It's gratifying to find that the heavy duty stuff doesn't, we're not on the Ombudsman stuff. What I find absolutely fascinating, obviously as a member, is where we go from dissatisfaction from services through to complaint. Because obviously in my surgeries, I'm sure a lot of other cancer surgery, and what you hear anecdotally on things like Facebook, etc., is the one you get complaints about more is what I'm looking at the moment, is that table as economy environment on it, which is obviously one of our big areas. And looking down, I'm looking down at the stuff that I get complaints about, and the councillor's hunch, as it were, about dissatisfaction when it goes through to complaint, obviously is there, and how it's handled, and how comms and the council deals with it. It looks like we deal with it reasonably well. I'll say that, I'm looking at Chief Executive at the moment, and it's how a dissatisfaction, it goes to a complaint, and how that I think by the look of it we're dealing with it reasonably well. But we get a lot of complaints, obviously, about recycling and bins, etc. And street scene. I'm looking at the large numbers in there, but it's all stage 1 stuff that does not, in the main, go through. And obviously other areas, education and social services. So I'm interested how that remains there and how we handle that. But I think we're doing reasonably well. And looking at the comparators on the Welsh stuff, obviously we're a small authority, quite intimate, and I think that's probably how we deal with it. I'm interested to hear what the officers have to say on that.
Thank you. What was the specific question you wanted answered?
Yeah, it's how they handle dissatisfaction going to complaint, and how it doesn't seem to go through to the Ombudsman. The Ombudsman obviously said in this comment that a lot of it is not their country; it stays at standard Netflix. It's appropriate levels of complaint or dissatisfaction, and how we manage to keep it like that, because we seem to be doing a reasonable job.
A lot of complaints, Councillor Ashley, are as we class service issues. Really, where there's, maybe as you said, a missed bin or something, they're just classed as service issues, and they are the issues that we list as others. If we identify there's been a breakdown in a council service, then we'll put it through a stage 1 complaint and find out why that breakdown happened. So that's generally how we deal with it. If then, as I said, the resident is happy at stage 1, there it ends. If not, it goes on to stage 2, etc. But yeah, we get a lot of service issues which we pass to the service area to handle.
Is that captured? I mean, because that's the bit
Yes,
that interests me.
yes, it's captured. I think we had over 1,000 service issues that we listened to and logged.
Thank you. That's a bit in. Obviously, members write in, so that members make members' inquiries, and there's a kind of pyramid, isn't there, on this?
I think most of the calls that come in are captured somewhere within the tables.
But no, it does give us a trail, which shows that it's been dealt with very effectively, I would say. I won't ask any more questions, Chair. Sorry. My point is that if we're capturing this information, we can make more effective service. That when we sit in scrutiny and look at things like waste, that's when we need this data, and this what we're talking about at the moment is really useful when we're scrutinising it.
That is pleasing to note, Councillor Ashley, but just to reiterate that every call that comes into the complaints team is logged. So, as I said, service issues we log as others, and we did have over 1,000 of those calls, and the other numbers are also recorded, stage 1, stage 2, and those that went on to the Ombudsman.
Right, thank you. No, that's useful. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr Vickers, your hand is raised. You have a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think probably where Councillor Ashley is coming from, at least to a degree, is around the culture and approach that we take to handling complaints, which I think is a really important point for us to make. I mean, we do of course try to solve complaints at the right level. So this is around ensuring that we apply a proportionate amount of effort in sort of assessing what the complaint is about, and that we ensure that we're giving people an appropriate level of focus. So I think that is really important. But it's important to remember, and some of this isn't necessarily captured within the data, we're always looking to be accessible and transparent in the way that we approach all of our work. And of course, operating with a quite a robust approach to performance management in general means that a lot of the service concerns are picked up and dealt with in terms of general service improvement, which hopefully results in fewer complaints coming into us. But the complaints that come in around a particular directorate, particularly if there's any trends to it, then we of course are always looking to learn. So I think ensuring that accessibility and transparency is really matters to us, and looking at that systematic, I suppose, data and analysis so that we can learn is really important to us as well. Generally speaking, we do try to have a learning culture. We treat complaints actually as valuable feedback and not as threats. I think that's a fair thing for us to say. Our staff are really well trained to handle the complaints. They're very empathic, I think. They handle those complaints very professionally, which of course in of itself stops things escalating. And we've got, we operate within very clear policies, communication strategies and record keeping processes, I suppose, which really helps us to make sure that what we've got is a good culture overall around complaints. And I think that that's probably what stops things escalating and gets things managed at the right level. I hope that answers the question somewhat, Councillor Ashley.
Thank you very much. Councillor Williams, your hand is raised.
Thank you very much, Chair. Two observations and one request for information. The observation is that in terms of contacts to myself as a ward councillor in relation to items like waste, I've seen a definite fall off, so it would seem to clarify, confirm, triangulate that there's a reduction. I want to make that observation. Second, I think it's beneficial to have the examples of compliments because it gives us a good feel, so I recommend that that is continued. And my last point, page 147, about social care, it looks like the compliance rate has gone down, yet there's a very helpful update as to what's happened with that. So I'm just trying to understand what the compliance rate is, how that's derived, because obviously there are 4 late, so it's not 50% of the 8. I've just wondered how that is derived and why that seems to have fallen. It's a bit pedantic, but I think it's helpful to understand.
Thank you. Can you respond, please?
So, there is an explanation within the report, Councillor Williams, which just touches on some social care. They go through a statutory process. When we investigate those, they take longer, and we always advise the resident that they are likely to take longer. Therefore, unfortunately, they then, will be late, and that then reflects in that lower compliance rate. But we always, keep the individual up to date on what's happening and why, etc., on why it would be late.
Thank you for that. I thought the report covered things very well, and the fact that things were being dealt with. It just seemed to me that the compliance rate didn't make us look so good, when in fact I think we were actually handling it quite well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Councillor Ashley, your hand is raised.
I just want to respond to what the Chief Executive said. I mean, something like recycling and waste is temperamental, because at the end of the day, we actually have an enormous amount of service we do there, out of proportion to anything else we do. So there's bound to be more complaint on that. But I take the point about that Councillor Williams said about compliment when people go beyond, and they do go beyond, because the people that do that will do lifts for people and things like that. So that's good. But then obviously the sensitive subjects like the social work and stuff like that, we're dealing with very sensitive subjects, and complaints in that are bound to happen as well. So it's the sensitivity, and I take your point, Chief Executive, on that. And the fact that we don't have a large number of complaints, I think is quite a good mark, because we're dealing with people's lives in both of those. And I take the point, because it's the anecdotal stuff that comes out on Facebook, and people do not escalate it. They have a moan, and somebody says something to them, and generally leave it there. So I think that's quite encouraging, to be honest. The other people might say, well, what do you expect? I love the anecdotal stuff, but how we capture that and move on, I'm not going to go on any further about it, because we're looking at data and how we provide a service, but generally we do.
I quite agree. I think that we had a lot of information in this report. It's very well put together. I think it's a very positive report, and if you want to carry on with the good work, take up the opportunity of the training that's been offered by the Ombudsman, and just thank your team for everything they're doing. Right, I think if we move on now to whether we accept this report. The report starts on page 120. Recommendations are on page 138. If we're all happy to accept this report in all its depth, I think we've queried it over quite well. Everybody in favour? So we'll accept the report. Thank you very much. Moving on now to agenda item 8. I don't know if this is a good opportunity for me to go before this agenda item, or carry on. Agenda item 8 is the Audit Wales Audit Plan. Charlotte Owen, please represent this report for us.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. It's Mike Jones here from Audit Wales. I'll probably just briefly take you through this. My colleague Charlotte is also on the call if there's any questions around the performance audit side of the plan.
I'm sorry I misnamed you. Please present the report for us. Thank you.
That's okay, that's fine.
I'm not going to go through it in detail. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It was produced back in June, and it's basically our plan for the year, both in terms of what we're going to do on performance audit and what we're going to do in terms of the audit of the accounts. Couple of things just to highlight, really. I think on pages 172 to 178 are some of the risks we identified in terms of the audit of the accounts. We're a large way through working through those. One of the risks we identified was the implementation of accounting standard IFRS 16, which is basically accounting for leases. And we have, I think it was right that we identified it, because we have come across some issues there, and we're working through those with the finance team. And we'll be reporting the results of our audit work and our proposed opinion in the full council in October, and we'll be updating this committee in October on the results of our work. So we're progressing. We're on time to give our opinion in October as planned, but we're just working through some issues before we finalise that work. That's probably as much as I'm going to say, because it is pretty self-explanatory, but happy to take any questions members may have.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions with regards to this report, please? Mr. Rees, your hand is raised.
Diolch, Chair. Diolch, Mike and Charlotte. I just wanted to make a comment. I wanted to thank Audit Wales for the specific work that they do on behalf of the authority, but also, if we look back to what we looked at earlier, some of the more wider audits and reports and the lessons that we can learn from that. Why I wanted to put on record my thanks is because I think we get very good value for money from Audit Wales with regard to the work that they do on our behalf, in comparison to what is now happening in England, where Audit Commission was abolished as a cost-saving exercise, and now all of the English local authorities are having to employ private sector accountancy firms to do this sort of work, and the costs have risen twice or three times as much as what they used to spend with Audit Commission. So I just wanted to make that comment, and diolch yn fawr. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Rees. Councillor Williams.
Yes, Chair. Sorry, I didn't hear the audit gentleman very clearly, so he may have answered this. But when you did the breakdown of the risks and what your audit team will do, did I hear you say that you would report back with your responses to Council in December? Or is there a time frame to report back, given that you're indicating some work that you're going to do?
Can you come back with an answer, please?
Yeah, I'll come back on that. Can members hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you.
You can see some nods. Yeah, so I'll just repeat really. We've got a statutory deadline to give our opinion, or the Auditor General's got to give his opinion by the end of October. So we're aiming to do that, and we're on course to do that. And to do that, we'll need to give our accounts report, in other words, reporting all our findings, the significant findings, to both this committee and formally to the full council in October, because I think it's the full council's responsibility to receive that report and to approve the accounts prior to them being signed. So October is the deadline which we're working to.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. It's my mishearing, so thank you.
Has anybody else got any questions or comments? Councillor Jones, your hand is raised.
Can I just check, Chair? The gentleman just said that he's got to report to this committee and council by October. I thought our next meeting isn't until December, So does that mean we potentially need a special meeting? Or have I got that wrong?
No, you're quite right. Our next meeting in the diary is December.
There is a provisional one put in for October for a special one, a one-item agenda, just to deal with the statement of accounts. Because it doesn't always meet the timescales of our quarterly meetings, so there will be one in October to meet the deadline of coming to us and then going on to full council.
Are we okay with that? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Peter. Right, if there are no other questions with regard to this report, can I assume, Mr Jones, that you're also dealing with the next report, our agenda item 9, Audit Wales Work Programme Quarterly Update?
I think that will be Charlotte, so I'll pass over.
Yeah,
I'll come in.
it's over to you then. Thank you.
Sorry, keep you on your toes. Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I'll just very briefly run through this, so you'll be familiar with this from previous meetings.
Can I just stop you there? I need to leave this meeting at 11 o'clock, and rather than go in the middle of your report, I think it would be more timely if I left now. Is that okay?
Yes, of course, not a problem.
And then I'll hand over. Is that okay? Sorry about that. I've got a few more to go to, so I need to leave. Thank you very much. I'll just hand the paperwork over to Councillor Williams, who's going to carry on chairing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and I hope you're in good time for your appointment.
Shall I carry on with this agenda item?
Sorry, Charlotte. Yes, please continue.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. Yes, you'll all be familiar with the format of this. It's just our regular Audit Wales work programme and timetable update. So this one is the position at the end of June, but as I run through it, I'll bring you up to date to the current position. So in terms of the financial audit work, Mike's just brought you up to speed with that really, so I won't say anything further on that one, but if you do have any questions, obviously Mike's on the call. Then in terms of the performance audit work, the thematic review on commissioning, you'll have seen earlier on the agenda, so that work is now completed. Our review of leisure services, we've just finished the field work for that project and hope to get the draft report over to the council next month. Then the 25-26 performance audit work programme, so we've got a thematic review across all 22 councils looking at workforce pressures around recruitment and retention, and that work is scheduled to be underway this autumn at Toolvine. We're also doing a follow-up review looking at the council's progress against the recommendations that we issued in last year's digital strategy review. That work is currently being set up, so we hope to come in to do the fieldwork for that in November with reporting early in 2026. And we're also going to be undertaking a regional review looking at disabled facilities grants and more broadly housing adaptations. So that's going to take place across 10 South Wales councils beginning in the new year. So we're scoping that project currently and hope to get a project brief to the council over the next 4 to 6 weeks. And then just in terms of some of the local government studies, the temporary accommodation report was on the agenda earlier, so that's now been published. The capital planning study, that report is going through clearance currently, so that one should be published in a couple of months' time, so a little bit behind schedule. And the children's services review, fieldwork has started with that in terms of document reviews, and I think there's going to be some interviews with key contacts at councils in the autumn. And I think all the other studies on there are as stated in the document here. And just to make you aware, these quarterly updates have been quarterly up until now, but going forwards, they're going to be every 6 months. So the next one will be the position at the end of December, which we'll issue to the council in January. So should be on your March agenda. But happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you for that update, Charlotte. Can I ask if members have any questions they would like to raise to Charlotte? All right. I see no hands, so are we happy to accept and note the plan, and also be prepared to accept the update as being suggested in terms of the 6-monthly report. Yep, I see people saying yes, no abstentions, so that is carried. They go forward. Thank you for the update and the detail. I'd like to perhaps suggest a slight agenda change to pick up agenda item 11 before 10. I hope all will be in favour of that, and that starts on page 211 of the agenda, and Stephen Vickers, the Chief Executive, is report. So over to you, Stephen.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate that very much. Yes, so this is obviously presenting to you the annual self-assessment and wellbeing report. So the Local Government and Elections Act 2021, alongside the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act 2015, requires all Welsh councils to publish an annual self-assessment report and report annually on progress against our wellbeing objectives. The draft report in Appendix 4 fulfils both statutory requirements for the 24-25 financial year. Committee members will know that bringing this report to the Governance and Audit Committee is a key part of that statutory process that's set out in the LGE Act for 2021. This step adds further rigour and assurance that the Council is meeting its performance obligations. The Act also requires that councils keep their performance arrangements under continuous review, which means robust, ongoing self-assessment with findings reported annually. And the quality of our report depends on the strength of those arrangements and our efforts to understand and improve our performance. So the report format is similar to previous years, but we have focused this year particularly on making it more accessible for people, recognising that it has become a substantial document. And this year, then we've included a concise summary in Appendix 1, a one-page infographic in Appendix 2, and an overview of the web layout for easier access to information. The Council continues to work within two main frameworks, of course, the county plan being the first, setting out our ambitions for Torvine's residents, communities and businesses, and the characteristics of an outstanding council, which describe how we work and the conditions needed to deliver on our county plan. So although the structure of the report remains familiar, there are some notable updates this year. We have included a section on the panel performance assessment, the PPA, for example, which was conducted earlier this year, which was generally very positive for the Council. As a statutory part of our performance arrangements, the PPA findings are incorporated into the report. The context for that report was around a challenging outlook for public services, with not anticipating any significant increase in resources over coming years. However, we are preparing for this, and we are prepared for this, and are organising ourselves not just to actually survive, we think, but to thrive and to really improve wellbeing across the council. So we asked the PPA then to focus on key areas of organisational change, including our federated approach with Blaenau Gwent, the introduction of a communities approach, and the council's focus on Marmot principles. These work streams are fundamental to the Council's future sustainability, are referenced throughout the report. In particular, the report introduces the Torvine Deal, which is our new social contract based on trust, shared responsibility and collective action between the Council and our communities, businesses and partners. Our commitment will be to becoming continuing to deliver against ourselves as a Marmot Council, aimed at reducing inequalities across Torvine, and that will be delivered through that whole system approach and being through the deal. The core of the report, as always, is set out in section 4, which details progress against the Council's 9 county plan priorities, our wellbeing objectives, which we know were adopted as part of our county plan in December 22. Section 4 begins with an overview of the progress against our annual delivery plan, followed by a more detailed review of our work, and that summary of the full delivery plan was presented to Council in July 2025. The ongoing development of our county plan and delivery plan provides clear priorities for officers and members, strengthens our self-assessment and enhances our ability to challenge our progress. The second part of section 4 then reviews progress against the characteristics of an outstanding council framework, which we believe helps us to become, which sets out the way that we work and helps us to become an outstanding council. We're not claiming to be outstanding in all areas, but we feel that we are making really good progress, continuously striving to improve, of course. So that section also highlights priorities for the coming year, with a particular focus on the federated approach and the deal. So I hope that the committee recognises and that we're demonstrating the progress that we've made over the past year in delivering our shared priorities. Our successes are no doubt due to the dedication, the creativity, the passion and the hard work found in all of our directorates and our staff members, and of course within our communities in the sense. Of course, the challenges remain, no doubt about that, for each priority. And we've set out the future challenges that we feel that we've got to overcome, along with a link to the new delivery plans for 24-25. So I hope committee members are encouraged to see that we are at the forefront of innovative approaches that which are central to how we're delivering services and how we plan to manage within our limited resources going forward. I think our plans are ambitious. And while our approach may differ from other councils, we believe it's the right way for Torvine to move forward sustainably and address those inequalities across our communities. Throughout the report, you'll find context to how the council integrates its work through internal planning, collaborates with partners, meets legislative requirements, plans finances to support the county plan, consults on performance and monitors progress, with a commitment to further improvement. And finally, I just want to emphasise that the self-assessment is really important, extremely important to me, myself and to Torvine Council. I think it shows that our openness to foster a culture that's really open to challenge, always seeking to learn, always looking to improve. And I hope there's a degree of balance in the report that reflects that commitment. As you'll know, the committee's role today is to comment on the recommend changes to the conclusions or actions of the council that the council intends to take as a result of the self-assessment, rather than look at the individual performance matters linked to each directorate per se. I'm happy to take any general questions about the report, obviously joined by Leanne and Tom, who I have to thank for who do all of the heavy lifting here. Two fantastic officers who really do all the hard work for us here, so that we've got this report in front of us. So thank you to both of them.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for the summary of the report. I'll ask members if they have any comments or observations that they would like to raise. Councillor Ashley.
Yeah, just one bit I might have missed this. What's the Apollo model, please, Chief Executive?
Yeah, that's okay, Councillor. It's effectively our approach to delivering the medium-term financial strategy. It's the name Apollo started as a bit of an internal joke, actually. Our former Section 151 officer, just to give you the background to it, who when faced with the crisis, financial crisis, Nigel once said to me that he made reference to the Apollo film, where the gentleman had said that this is going to be NASA's worst day. We were looking at obviously Apollo 13 not getting back to the Earth. and he said that this is going to be NASA's worst day, and the response was, no, I think it's going to be our finest as we get the officers home. And Nigel had made reference to that, and that's why we called our project Apollo from that point on, and that's been with us for 4 years now. That's the sort of background to it.
I think I'd better buy you a Lego set, because when I put it in Google, it came up with a Lego set.
Oh, did it? Okay. Yeah.
I think I owe you one of those. Sorry, Chair.
Thank you, Stephen. And I think that's answered your question, Councillor Ashley.
No. I have heard this before, but I couldn't remember. So, no, the Lego set's for you, Chief Exec.
Can I see if there's anybody other questions or points? Peter, do you want to come in?
It's not my question. The chair obviously had to leave, and she's left me with one of her questions. And the question refers to page 286. It's to do with Pontypool Town Centre. There's reference in there to the Pontypool Cultural Hub and Cafe Quarter. And the question is, it seemed to have been sort of announced a while ago, but the progress on it seems to be slow. So she was just looking if there's any reason for the sort of delay in the process.
Thank you for that. Is Tom or Stephen?
Councillor, if I'm a bit, I don't want to put David Leach on the spot here, because I don't know the answer to that question myself. And if David doesn't, I'm not trying to put him on the spot. That's okay. It may be something we need to come back to you on. But David's usually got a handle on the type of detail that you're probably looking for there.
David, thank you.
I'm happy to come in there, Chair, and again we can get you a more comprehensive answer in terms of the most recent developments on it, but the project's still going through its final stages of design process. It's still well underway. We are still moving forward with the project. There's been quite a few design alterations that we've had to make, which isn't unusual with a project of this scale and this nature, that have required some amendments to planning applications. So there's been a few different iterations of planning applications going back in as the designs change. What always runs hand in hand through a process like this is that the designs are altered, the cost profile changes, we value engineer down, which changes the designs, and we've been going through that iterative process. So it has taken longer than we originally envisaged, but the projects are still moving forward. We can give a more detailed update to members if that would be helpful, but just to reassure members that things are still moving forward.
Thank you very much. I think that will be helpful. Obviously, the Chair is not here to hear that, so it's helpful that we can record the key points there. I see no other hands. Perhaps if I could make a couple of observations and points myself. Can I thank Tom and the team for taking on board feedback from last year and having a more concise summary document and reporting. I think that's very helpful, makes it much easier to go through the report. Sorry, Leanne, thank you very much. The team did a great job of actually summarising, and is appreciated by this reader at least. And I think it's also helpful to see how the council is addressing the panel performance assessment recommendations through the points at 4.3, developing the Marmot approach and the deal. I think that's a sort of very clear lead-in of how the one is responding to the other. So thank you for that clarification, Stephen. I see no other questions coming, so the recommendations... Oh, sorry.
Put my hand up, David.
Go ahead, Councillor Ashley.
I think Mark's got his hands up as well. I'll let Mark go first because he hasn't said anything.
Mark?
Okay, thank you, Stuart, and thank you, Chair. First off, apologies. For the last 5 minutes or so, we've just had a power cut, and so I've missed whatever that you've just talked about. But what I just wanted to pick up was thank you again, Stephen, for this very comprehensive report, and please thank all of the team for bringing all of the data together. I welcome the fact that you've made this now a much more accessible and understandable document for for all. We've still got all the info there, but to have those snapshots and the infographic is really good. I just wanted to pick up on the marmot aspect, and thank officers for sending us a bit more information about what marmot is all about. But forgive me if elected members have already had more briefing about this, but I would really like to understand a little bit more about where all the marmot principles are coming from, and if it was possible that we could have some kind of short briefing or workshop at some time, in the future, that I would appreciate that. Thank you. Diolch.
Thanks. I think that's a clear request, and I'll pass to Tom to respond.
Yeah, obviously, again, I suppose it's like we said earlier, Councillor, he's falling through the cracks in that elected members do get briefings on marmot, and have recently received a briefing on the deal. I'll have to speak to Stephen to see how we can get you more information to help you to do your role as a lay member on this committee regarding marmot and the deal. I'm sure we can send you further information.
Is that okay?
Stephen's got his hand up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Stephen would like to come in as well. Thank you.
Yeah, just very briefly, if I may, Chair. Yeah, Mr. Rees, I think that yes, absolutely. I think bearing in mind the importance of marmot and the context in which marmot will be delivered through our deal, which is obviously referenced throughout this report, started to be referenced throughout this report, I do think it's important that we're able to provide you with some kind of the information that you're requesting. I'm more than happy to engage across, and it may be something that you choose to do across both councils, actually, because both councils, Blaenau Gwent and Torfaen, both marmot councils, both will have a deal to deliver against their marmot objectives, albeit that it will be a deal for each council. That's really important because we need to be responding to communities in respect of what their needs are. But I do think in going forward, it'd be really helpful for you to fulfil your roles, and probably that's true for all scrutiny committees too, that we probably should bring people together for those purposes. It is fair to say, of course, that many of the scrutiny committees occupied by members may not feel that's necessary for them because they will have seen this. But we can certainly send you some slides over immediately, Mr. Rees, and what we'll then do is, if you want further information, happy to talk you through that at any point, and if the committee wants further information about that, happy to talk you through that too.
Thank you for that, Stephen. You happy with that, Mr. Rees?
Oh, very much so. Thank you, Stephen, again. Much appreciated. And I know we'll get there with this. Thank you. That's
great. So if I go to Councillor Ashley, I think you wanted to come in.
Yeah, I just wanted to very briefly echo what you said, Chair. This process is, I think we're a little bit into it now. I get the marmot principles, I get the county plan. I think most members do. I mean, Mr. Rees's observation is a good one, because if Mr. Rees feels that, he's a lay member on this committee. Interesting to see what the population thinks about it, because he is a member, he is a resident. So it's how the conversation we had the other day when we were looking at the scrutiny. So it's how we sell it and how we get it over to people. But it's no, I get marmot. I think marmot's very humanising of this whole process, to be quite frank. And I'm, as a member now, I'm getting this principle, Stephen. So I think this is it's intelligible as the process goes on. I like it.
Thank you for that.
What I've done, Chair, if I may, I've just asked Tom, I've just sent a slide deck over to Tom, and Tom will share that with Mr. Rees and the committee more broadly, should it be useful.
I think, yes, that's helpful. I think the point that Councillor Ashley made was helpful, that obviously it would be helpful for all lay members of the committee. The question was asked by Mr. Rees, and I'm sure that will be picked up by Tom and the team. So thank you, Stephen, for that. I see no more hands. So the recommendations are on page 218 of this report. Are members happy to accept the report? Yes? Yes. So the report is accepted. Thank you very much. Sorry, turn myself off there. So we'll go back to item 10, and I think, Peter, that's over to you. Yeah?
Thank you, Chair. This is just our quarterly update on progress against the agreed annual internal audit plan. In terms of the key messages, on page 203, we're doing very well in terms of progress against the plan. We've achieved 32% against the target of 85, which is more than satisfactory. And the core plan, we're also at 33% against the target of 100. And assuming resources stay the same, I fully expect we will deliver that plan throughout the year. In terms of issues brought to bring to your attention, there's only one on paragraph 4.2. One of the audits we've undertaken this year is on home elective education, and we had a couple of high priority audits in there around the timeliness of assessment of the process. People are entitled to provide home education, and we got a role as an LEA in terms of making sure the child has adequate education. So there has to be, we have to assess what the process is for the education within, I think it's 8 weeks according to guidance, and then we have to do an annual assessment to make sure that it's still proportionate and the child is improving. We've missed a few deadlines on those, on some of those, therefore they'll tighten up on those and implement better time management. I think it's a matter of volume more than anything, because the number of home elected education has increased significantly, particularly since COVID. So the recommendations have been accepted, and we will do a follow-up audit of those in due course and report back to the audit committee if there's any further issues. We've also done a number of follow-up audits in the first 6 months of the year. I'm pleased to report that there's progress on those in terms of the agreed recommendations being implemented and the opinions all sort of improving and going in the right direction. The appendix to the report on page 200 and something, 209 to 210, just gives the totality of the plan, summary of the areas done, summary of the opinions, and the summary of the recommendations. It's a standard format which the committee has always had, and I'm pleased to answer any queries or questions anybody may ask.
Thank you very much, Peter. That was clear. So can I ask members if they have any questions? Any hands? I see no hands. No? Okay. So the apologies.
Chair.
Sorry, Councillor Rees. I'm struggling to see the screen very well, but please come in.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks again, Peter, for this. Very, very, very useful. I just wanted to ask for a little bit more detail. 4.3, you mentioned that a number of follow-up audits have been completed. There's progress on implementing the recommendations, but you've got the majority of audits have resulted in system opinions improving. So is that there are some out there that aren't improving? I just wondered if you could give us a flavour of what those may be. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. No. What usually happens is we give an opinion when we do the initial work, and then obviously there's agreed recommendations. We'll modify that opinion following the delivery of the follow-up. And I think on page 209, perhaps at the next time I'll actually pull out split the follow-ups from the normal system, so it's a bit more clear for you, or put a table in the report. I can certainly do that. But for example, like I pick on one there, or one of the things is information management. The original opinion was substantial. We've done the follow-up, and it's still substantial. So it's not decreasing, it's increasing. There are a number of others that have gone from substantial to full, so that the journey is always a positive one, or not a negative one. But for the next report, so I've got no concerns over the follow-up. If there was any follow-ups which remain limited, or there was inadequate action on any of the recommendations, I would bring them to your attention in the summary. But in the next one, perhaps I'll bring a specific table around the follow-up, so you can just see the progress of the ones we've done. But no concerns in any of the work we've done in the last quarter.
Are you happy with that, Mr. Rees?
Oh yeah, thank you again, Peter. I'm sorry if that's going to make you any more work, but it's useful for us to have that sort of snapshot. But I'm glad you think that there are no concerns, but it would be useful to see that little bit more detail. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the offer, Peter. I think we can note that as something for the next report back. That would be great. I see no hands. So the recommendations for this report are on page 207. So are we happy to accept, note the content of the report? Yep, all in favour? Yes? Okay. So that is noted. Thank you, Peter. And then we can move on to, which I think is probably you as well, number 12, follows on quite sequentially. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is just our audit programme for the year for the committee. All positive reports should have come here, have mainly come here, or there's reasons why they haven't come, but you will still receive those reports. And to go back to an issue that came up earlier in the agenda, you'll notice there is a special meeting put in for October. I haven't got a date on it yet because it is dependent on our colleagues in Audit Wales finishing our audit and obviously being able to meet the October deadline. So at this point in time, it will be sometime in October, but I can't narrow it down other than the 31 days in October. Other than that, the programme is on course, and as in previous years, hopefully we'll deliver the reports that come to you that we plan to bring to the committee.
Thank you for that. I think that's clear. Any comments or observations from the members of the committee? No. Okay. Well, I think then we can simply note the report, thank you, which is for information only. And we've had the update from Peter as to the need for a date unspecified further meeting. So, okay, that goes forward. So, final item is item 13, the date of the next meeting. Next substantive meeting, as we've said, is on the 18th of December, and there's an additional meeting to be arranged in October. So, I think that concludes business, colleagues. So, thank you everybody for your contributions and attendance today, and see you again soon. Thank you.